It's time for another Dice Tower review with Brian Hoyer.
Hi, and welcome to another Dice Tower board game review. My name is Siffle.
And I'm Ollie.
Yes, Siffle and Ollie, an excellent show, if ever there was.
You had me going there for that one.
I thought I'd stump you there. Otherwise known as Brian.
And Patrick, the guy who's occasionally behind the camera.
This week we're going to be taking a look at a much smaller box, a game called Incan Gold.
Now, Incan Gold is a different type of game than we've reviewed in the past. This is a party style of game, more of a press your luck style of game where you want to play with a larger group. Now, the box says anywhere from 3 to 8 players. We suggest for a real flavor of the game, you don't shoot for anything less than 4. You can do it with 3, but the nature of the game really calls out for that larger group. How does it play? What does it come with? Well, let's pop open the box and find out.
First up, our components breakdown. The first thing you need to set up is you have 5 cards that represent the temple, because in this game you are treasure seekers going into an ancient Incan temple in search of riches and fame and whatnot. So you take those 5 cards and you lay them out in such a way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the center of the table. And these represent the 5 different rounds of play in the game. The next thing you have is each player gets 2 choice cards. Now, one card you can flip up to show that you want to continue going deeper into the temple to hopefully get more treasure. Or you can flip this card up saying, no, I'm ready to run and leave with what I have and escape back to camp. You can see the little tent in the background, which brings me over to the tent over here. It's kind of a flimsy cardboard piece, but it gets the job done, and its purpose is to hide your treasure from your opponents so they don't know exactly how much money you've won. That's represented by these fancy, nice little plastic jewels, and they're actually kind of cool. Nice, high-quality plastic bits. And then as you're going into the temple, you have the treasure deck, which shows how many treasure you get each round, or if you're very unlucky, a monster might pop up, which would signify the end of that round. You are scared out of the temple. And then lastly, there are 5 artifacts, very rare treasures worth more than your typical treasure. And these, of course, you want to escape with and get to get more points.
Okay, the method of play is fairly simple. The first thing that happens is the first player, or the person who will run the treasure deck, flips over the very first round card. That indicates that we are now in round 1. At this point, we select one of the artifact cards and you would show it to the rest of the players. This artifact card for this round will be this nice statue. That statue is then shuffled into the main playing deck. We'll just do a quick shuffle here, nothing too fancy for this purpose. Now each of the players picks up their choice cards and they're going to hide them in their hands because they don't want the people to know what they're choosing to do. Now, before we go any further, everyone's going to decide, are they going to go into the temple or are they going to run away? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to show the card and what we choose to do on 3. 1, 2, 3. And we've both decided to go into the temple. Kind of the first round, it's kind of a given, so sometimes you can skip that process. At this point, we flip over the first treasure card. Now the first treasure card in this case comes up with a number of 5. That means there's a treasure worth 5 points in this room. Now, each of those different colored blocks that you see off to the side of the camera are worth different amount of points. And you split them up between the players who have decided to stay into the temple. The turquoise or the blue-greenish are worth 1 point apiece. The obsidian are worth 5, and the gold are worth 10 points. Now, this is worth 5 points, and so we have to split it up evenly. Now, since this is worth 5 points, it would be 1 obsidian, but since there's 2 players playing in this example, we have 5 turquoise pieces. Now we have to split this up directly and exactly. So I'm going to grab 2.
I'll grab 2.
And the one that's left over doesn't go to anyone and instead goes on the card. Now the turquoise piece that stays on the card will stay there until somebody retreats from the temple. And the first person to retreat from the temple will take all the treasures from the card and split it equally to all those who retreat at the same time. Now it's time for the second step. We all took back our player's choice cards, and on 3 we're going to decide what we're going to do to this next round. 1, 2, 3. And we've both decided to go deeper into the temple again, so we flip up the next treasure card. And in this case, the treasure card was a trap. What happens when a trap comes up? Well, the first time a specific trap comes up, nothing happens. As you notice, this is our first trap, but it's a snake. Now, if another trap pops up, and it is also a snake, anyone who's left in the temple loses everything that they have gained during this venture into the temple. If a trap card pops up with a different picture, you can still press your luck and continue on. This is a game of taking risks. So we're going to go on to a third play. Okay, we're going to do this one more time. On 3, we're going to show our cards. 1, 2, 3. And we're both going to go into the deeper into the temple again. Again, treasure card gets flipped up. It's another trap card, but it's a different type of trap. It's a scary-looking mummy doll, which, if it was me, I would want to run out of the temple right at this point. But there are 2 trap cards, but both showing a different picture. So we can decide to continue on this next round, or we can decide to run while the getting is good and get out of there. Okay, we're going to do this just a couple more times so you can get the feel. 1, 2, 3, flip. We're both going deeper into the temple. We flip a card. There are 7 pieces, so we're going to split this up again. Now we can't split evenly, so we're going to have to take different numbers.
So we have 7 on there. Okay.
I will take 3.
I take 3, leaving 1 behind.
And again, whoever gets out at the right time will get everything left on the card.
Now at this point I'm going to point out that the treasures we are taking from this card and this card up here, we do not keep, because if you get scared out, you lose these also. You put these next to your tent until you escape. If you escape successfully, then you can put them in your tent and hide your treasure from your opponents, but you do not keep them or put them in your tent until you are successfully out of there safely.
Okay, let's try one more choice. 1, 2, 3, flip. Okay, now my brother is sneaking out like a rat, and he's going back to his tent, so he's going to take everything off the cards, and that he took successfully from the temple, and he's going to put them under his tent. Now, those are secure for the rest of the game. Those are points in his pocket. I took a risk. I'm going deeper into the cavern. I flipped the treasure card. And too bad for him, I get 11 pieces. Since I'm still in the temple, I can decide to go again. And this time, I'm going to run while the getting's good. All these items would go into my personal tent. Round 1 is over. These cards get shuffled back into the deck. And the round goes on to round 2. The next person, clockwise, gets the treasure cards, and you play through that again through all 5 rounds.
So, final thoughts on Incan Gold. I'll start with the pros. The pros plays a large number of players. You can get a pretty decent-sized group going up to 8 players. Nice, small, compact box, which is great for carrying around to and from game night. It's all cards. It's very light, fast to set up, easy to play and explain to new players. And we've gotten some, I'd say, non-gamers to play it quite successfully, and I think they've all enjoyed it.
It is a fantastic group game or party game for up to 8 people. Probably didn't get the feel for it with only 2 of us playing, but when you're trying to figure out what is the person next to me going to do, are they going to run? Because if they run, I want to run at the same time, so I get some of that gold or some of that jewels before they do. Do I want to press my luck? Some people are more wussy about pressing their luck than others. I'm not going to mention any names. And some people like to go all out and keep going and pushing their luck. Needless to say, I usually lose because of that. But it is that fun, press your luck, what is the next card going to reveal, and how gutsy are you type of game. I don't really have any detractions from this game. It's really a fun, simple game to play.
If I had any cons, like we normally do in our review, the tents are kind of flimsy, but that's understandable. They're collapsible to fit in this small box. It doesn't seem like we've never run out of jewels, but we have had to cash in jewels regularly for bigger amounts, so that we don't run out of the little green ones when you're dividing them up. And if you're constantly pulling jewels out of your tent and cashing them in, people can kind of start to get a feel for how much money you might have.
That is true.
You could use some more jewels, and you could probably substitute your own pieces in for that.
That's true. It does have a limited number of jewels, and we have run into positions where it does cut down. The other fun thing about this is we didn't get to them, but as you pull out the artifacts add 2 points at the end of the game. And if you pull out an artifact and it's in the game, and somebody gets the players that are still in the temple get scared away, that artifact is lost for the game.
Or if you're the first one to run, you get the artifact. So as soon as the artifact comes up, and you think somebody else might run, if they're the only person to run, they get the artifact and all those points. If two people run, and you try to screw them over, so to speak, neither one of you gets it. So, I mean, it's kind of fun that way, too, as far as, like, again, pushing your luck. Do I stay or do I leave just so I can make sure that so-and-so doesn't get the treasure?
Yeah. And it's, like I said, it's a fantastic game for that interaction, and we've had a lot of laughs, and it's one of those games where at the end of the game you actually sit back and say, do you remember when you did this, or do you remember when I did this to you in the game? Definitely a sign of a good game.
Lot of laughs.
Lot of laughs.
Final thoughts on scale 1 to 10. 1 is terrible, 10 is amazing. I'm torn on this one because you do need a lot of people to play it. It won't get to the table as often, but I'd probably have to give it an 8. It is just a lot of fun.
And that's the same problem that I had with it. You do need, like I said, minimum of 4. It's a lot more fun with the more players that you have for this game. But I would also give it an 8. A very strong game, and it's one that we really like to break out as often as we can.
Definitely.
Well, there you have it. I'm Patrick, and
I'm Brian.
And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.